Good damn morning, Americans. Jericho Green here with you once again. Get your green gear 25% off. Promo code Jericho1, all caps, and the number 1. Got to give a big shout out to my man Mers. I sure appreciate the love. He's kind enough to send me some BBQ seasonings and sauces because I am serious about that grill life. I have stood in the rain with an umbrella grilling. Shit is serious. So believe me, it will be used ASAP. Thanks again. Quick question. Am I the only one who believed at one time that you got big companies, big corporations, any kind of big organization, you just assume that they have people to check on things, people to verify things, people to kind of go ahead and go ahead of everything and scout what's going on before you make a major decision. I just assume that. I also, kind of like assuming that people that are older than you are smarter and wiser. You just think it. But apparently, like my dad would say, I'm wrong as two left shoes. Because the MLB, Major League bitches, remember they pulled the All-Star game from Atlanta because of Georgia's voting laws. Damn Hank Aaron being honored and his family getting to go and see that. Damn all the small businesses and businesses in general that would have benefited from people coming into town for the All-Star game. Not to mention, we're hopefully wrapping up this bullshit pandemic, so things are opening, people being allowed back to games, so people might have been a little more loose with that cash. Sorry, Atlanta, fuck you guys. You made the mistake of voting for laws that you want when it comes to voting. Your mistake. So to thumb their nose to that, they pulled the All-Star game and all its amenities from Atlanta and they moved it to Colorado. And even the grandpa in chief got up there saying, well, these voting laws in Georgia, they're like Jim Crow on steroids. Remember he said that shit? Well, this must be Jim Crow on steroids and PCP. Because the state of Colorado also has voter ID laws, just like Georgia, the state that they pulled it from. And if you go down the list, their voting laws are very similar. The days that you can cast an early vote are only off by like 2 days. One state requires ID for you to have an absentee ballot. The other one requires, if you don't have an ID, last 4 of your social, bills in your name. They're very similar. So you would think that somebody would have said, hey, MLB, before you take it from Atlanta, from Georgia, and move it to Colorado, here's what Colorado's voting laws are. But I guess nobody did that. I guess at the behest of the president, that was enough for them to move their shit. You mean nobody in Major League Baseball? This is a multi-billion-dollar corporation. They got people. But nobody said, hey, before we move to this state, let's check out what they do. Oh, no, fuck that. All right, let's go. So how stupid do you look right now, MLB? You pulled the All-Star game for voting laws and moved it to a place that basically has the same voting laws. But, hold on. Pinch myself. I'm not dreaming. This is real. Why couldn't you move it to some silly-ass clown state like California, where it's like, honk, honk. You don't need ID here, kid. Come and vote. Why didn't you do that? There's no voter ID laws in California. If you can stand up straight, you can vote, basically. So why in the hell would you pick a state that mirrors the one you just left? Are these people for real? Who the fuck is running this popsicle stand? Oh, man. That's how you know these people aren't serious. You moved it to a state. Why do they do this? This is beyond being, this is just stupid. Is this about being woke? I mean, I guess it is, but you just blindly do shit, no research or nothing? What? I was able to look up the voting laws in Colorado, and I don't work for the MLB. This shit is stupid. When is this going to be over, man? When are they going to stop? When? This doesn't even make sense. That's like saying, you know what? That's it. Let's go, guys. We're not eating at McDonald's. All they have here is burgers and fries and soda, and it's not healthy. We're going to take it across the street to Burger King. They got the same shit. So why did you do that? You mean the president didn't even do any research before he told you guys to pull it from Georgia because of these Jim Crow-esque laws? He said they're on steroids. So how is that worse than the real Jim Crow that people lived through? All the things you couldn't do as a colored person. And like I said yesterday, not just black people. It was Jews, Asians, and Latinos. So what the fuck? How is asking you to identify yourself before you do one of the most important things you can as a society, how is that racist and how is it worse than Jim Crow? Please, somebody explain that to me. And while you're explaining things to me, can you explain to me, now, a couple months back, I did a video talking about how California, starting January 1st, so this was, I think, late 2020. Starting January 1st, California prisoners can be housed in the prison of the gender that they identify with, if that makes sense. So if you are a transgender woman, if you're a man transitioning into being a female, then you can request to be moved to a female prison. If you're a woman transitioning into being a man, you know that shit ain't gonna happen. You know there ain't a damn woman transitioning into being a man who's gonna want to go to a fucking men's prison. How do you think that's gonna end? What condition do you think that person's body is gonna be in 5 minutes after they show up at a men's prison? I got a real good friend of mine. He served 10 years plus straight in the California prison system. Salinas Valley, Corcoran, what's the other one? Pelican Bay. That man was in Pelican fucking Bay. Google that prison. And I said, hey man, what would happen to a transgender man, a woman that was transitioning into a man and they got put in a men's prison? He was speechless. He was like, man, he said that woman, man, whatever they would be called, would be unrecognizable. There would be dozens of men having at that woman. It would be unspeakable, the things that that person would go through. And as with sports, you're not going to see no woman transitioning into a man going to a fucking men's prison. You ain't going to see that. It's going to be a bunch of tranny dudes transitioning into women going into women's prisons. Let's be honest. So there's this big push to get these prisoners rehoused with the genders that they identify with. And 1% of California prisoners identify as transgender. 1%. I believe it's just over 2,000 people. 1 or 2,000 people. So my question is, why this push to get 1% of the population? I think there's been just over 250 requests to be relocated. So 250 people. And you have this new law that you put into place that went into action January 1st. This big push to do it. My question is, why not a big push to rehouse nonviolent offenders? If you're a dope fiend, if you're a thief, maybe it was your first offense. Maybe you caught a DUI and now you're in prison and you're bunking underneath somebody who killed 3 people. Why not a push for that? Why not get those people out of harm's way first? Because I'm sure there's more than 2,000 of them. Why not take care of them and get them out of those violent situations? Why not have a separate prison system for them? Because all prisoners are not created equal. You got some people in there that messed up. You got some victimless crime people. You got some dope fiends. You got murderers and rapists and molesters. They should not be together. So instead of worrying about this minuscule, tiny group of people, why don't you take care of the larger group first and save those people? Now, I'm sure if you dress like a girl and you're in a men's prison, life is tough. But it's also tough for people who weren't cut from that cloth, who didn't grow up as criminals, who haven't been in the justice system since they were children. And that's sad for them too. But why not take care of those that need it first, rather than taking part in this woke bullshit? Rather than being pushed around by the Ku Klux Klans. This don't make any fucking sense. You got people who are not cut from that cloth, housed with people who are much harder than they can ever imagine. Them being victimized, being extorted. But you're going to worry about a tiny ass group of people who you wouldn't even know about unless they dressed that way and made themselves look that way. Because you can hide that. You can't hide your crimes. You can't hide the fact that you're not built for this life. You can't hide the fact that you're not supposed to be here. But you can untuck your weenie and not wear a bra and underwear. One can be hidden, one can't. Like that bullshit argument where you have people in the LGBT alphabet soup group equating themselves to the civil rights movement, which is a bunch of bullshit. You can't hide your race unless you're Michael Jackson, Lil' Kim, Janet Jackson, or Sammy Sosa. They look fucking weird, but they got the money. The average Joe Schmo, you can't change your race. But you can hide your sexuality. So don't equate the two. I've mentioned this before. I knew one of these Ku Klux trans members that told me, yeah, telling a gay person they're queer is just like calling a black person a nigger. What? The fuck did you just say? If a word has 2 meanings, it's not as bad as a slur that doesn't. Nigger only means one thing. That's it. You're not going to say, hey, babe, hand me them niggers over there on the counter. Kids, hey, you guys better be quiet. I don't want to hear a nigger piss on cotton. You don't hear that. Because it only means one thing. Queer means strange. And it also refers to a sexual preference. The N-word, that's only got one meaning. So don't tell me they're the same. But again, why is California pushing to save this group, this tiny little group? But they don't want to save a larger group who I would say is in much more trouble than the transgenders. 1% of the prison population versus, I mean, damn, there's got to be more people who are nonviolent offenders and first-time offenders being thrown in, I would say, the worst conditions in America as far as the violence. Well, shit. I mean, that would be interesting to see the numbers with prison violence versus like Baltimore or some shit like that. Those might be close. But my point is, especially for someone who does not come from that life, being in prison with people like that, I'm sure that's a big fucking problem. And they would love to be relocated with people who have light crimes. You think they like that first? Not in California. Nope. The needs of the many will always fall behind the needs of the few. And unfortunately, that's not just California. And again, what happens in California is coming to a theater near you. The West Coast is the world's largest petri dish. Science experiment. So all this crazy shit, how are they going to take care of them and not all that? Watch out. It's headed your way, courtesy of the left coast. But you know how it goes. I try to be done with the left, but they just won't let me. Please subscribe. Hit that notification bell because every time it rings, a piece of shit lefty cries. Get your Jericho Green notification tone. Link in the description box. Utilize the PayPal link and the Teespring link to get your green gear. I am Jericho Green. Man, I'm out.